Revenue and earnings beat, but we saw monthly active users, again, decline. Give us some detail on what is drawing more advertisers to the platform, even though monthly users are going down.
Great. So there's a couple different things at play here, and you really have to go back to the strategy that we rolled out a couple years ago to have better ad formats, to drive better relevance for advertisers, to do a better job measuring their success on Twitter, ultimately to deliver a better ROI for them on the platform than they were getting before, and to articulate why they should advertise on Twitter. Now people really understand Twitter's the place where you launch something new. Twitter's the place where you go to advertise to the most valuable audience or when they are most receptive. We were just not clear about that a couple years ago the way that we are today, and it's really started to resonate. We were pretty surprised, frankly, at how quickly the business has turned around in the United States. It turned faster than we thought it would this quarter, and in a bigger way than we expected it to, and that was a big part of what drove the business this quarter.
Now, you said you're continuing to work on this cleanup, that you're challenging over 9 million accounts a week. Is that still happening? And how many of those accounts actually remain on the platform, and how many are taken down?
So we're challenging a ton more than we used to. So the 9 million number is something Jack talked about in front of Congress back in September. We have become more sophisticated in our understanding of how people create spammy and suspicious accounts so that we can detect and prevent their creation or stop them after they've been created. How many get through really depends on how many of them should get through. We test far more accounts than are spammy and suspicious, and that helps us understand the behavior, because just because an account is created on a web browser in a certain country with a certain IP address doesn't necessarily mean that it shouldn't be on the platform the way that another one might. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Now, as a result of this, you've said monthly active users will continue to decline. How much further will they decline?
So we said that MAU would decline in the mid-single-digit millions in the fourth quarter because of GDPR, our ongoing health work, and decisions we might make around SMS contracts that we have with carriers. We don't forecast MAU when we go out further than a quarter. We've done it each of the last 2 quarters because we could see a decline coming, and we wanted to share it with people. When we step back and think about our health work more broadly, we don't want to be constrained by the disclosed metrics. We want to prioritize health above all else because we know that it's a critical growth vector for the company to make sure that Twitter is a safe place for you and me and for the people who should be on the platform, and that we're moving spammy and suspicious behavior whenever we can. Sometimes it affects the disclosed metrics. Other times, such as in the second quarter when we removed tens of millions of accounts and they were largely inactive, it doesn't affect the disclosed metrics as much.
So let's talk about the health. Yesterday we saw tweets promoting fake bomb scare, fake bombs, hashtags filled with conspiracy theories. How is this still happening?
Well, we still have work to do to improve the health of the conversation on Twitter. There are so many ways for us to address these challenges as people get more sophisticated in how they create the bad behavior on Twitter. One of the great things about Twitter that we're able to benefit from is because it is public and open and real-time. We often find things, but often things are corrected by the platform itself, by other people on Twitter who say, that's not true, or you may believe that, but I believe something different, and I want to tell you what I believe. The fact that the platform's open really makes it different and allows us to take a different approach around policies and enforcement than others may.
We are in a period of extremely divisive politics. Just this morning, the president tweeted, "A very big part of the anger we see today in our society is caused by the purposely false and inaccurate reporting of the mainstream media that I refer to as fake news. It has gotten so bad and hateful that it is beyond description. Mainstream media must clean up its act fast." You know, I know in the past you've said the president is a newsmaker, he's an influential person, and yet I wonder, is the president getting a pass from Twitter when it comes to what is true and what is false, what is hateful and what is not, what incites violence and what does not, because he is the president?
So I'll just go back to what I mentioned before about Twitter being public and open and real time. Those are things that allow people to see what a public figure is going to say, regardless of their party affiliation, regardless of where they are in the world. They can learn from it, they can respond to it, they can observe how others might respond to it. And we believe that that allows for a healthy public conversation, that allows people to have more information than they otherwise might, whether it's something here in the United States or it's around the Brazilian or Mexican elections, which were just completed. It's an important part of our purpose is to serve a public conversation, which means for people to be able to see what other people are saying.
Twitter has been very clear about the need to do more. Jack Dorsey has been clear about this. How many more people are you hiring? How many more people are you dedicating to this particular problem?
Health is our #1 priority. We think about health, growing audience, improving our revenue products, and sales as our biggest priorities. I don't expect those to change much as we move into next year. And I think because Twitter is public, open, and real-time in nature, we're able to leverage those characteristics and still accomplish a lot through our Twitter services team, through the machine learning that we use to amplify our policies and the Twitter services team.
Are you actually going to add more people?
Well, we've been adding more people, so we're going to grow headcount about 15% this year as we continue to invest against all of our priorities. And I would expect us to continue to grow headcount, but it's not against any one priority, it's against all of those priorities to really be able to grow the business and execute against the opportunities that we see.
And just last quick question as we go into the midterms, is there anything specific that Twitter is doing differently over the next couple of weeks, knowing that we are in a particularly divisive time?
We've learned a lot from past elections, whether they're in the United States or in other parts of the world, and we've made a bunch of changes which we feel really good about. I'll give you 2 examples. One is we have what's called the Ads Transparency Center now, which is a place where you can go at twitter.com so that you can see who's advertising around an election, what it is that they're saying, to whom they are advertising, and how much they're paying for the impressions that they're getting. This is unprecedented transparency, and to us it's critical to inform a public conversation. Another thing we're doing is sometimes around elections you have people who are presenting themselves as somebody who they aren't. Sometimes it's parody, sometimes it's very serious. The candidates will now have a stamp, so you know who they are and that they really are the person who they're presenting themselves to be. We see these as really important parts of delivering a better Twitter during an election.